All right, so I've seen a couple posts on the Facebook page asking about installing a reverse light. Some people say just plug it into your cigarette lighter because it's easy. Totally get it. That is easy. Some people say put it on a switch because that's easy. Totally get it. Again, that's easy. Some people said, hey, if you go up underneath the dash cluster here, and this is an '06 Grizzly, and find out what wire activates when you put it in reverse, then you can tie it into that. It'll be all automated. Total fan of that. When I take my '06 Grizzly, the top rack off and the hood off, you've got 3 plugs going to your gauge cluster here. Now, you got to be very careful because mine were packed full of mud, and these releases didn't work really well, so I had to put a screwdriver down into that release, and then I use a pair of vice grips to grip the back of it kind of like that to pull it out. You don't want to go pulling on these cables and rip those sockets apart and then have a nightmare trying to get it fixed. So there's basically 3 plugs going to an '06 Grizzly cluster. There is a small 3-wire triangle, a black 6-wire, and a white 6-wire. The one that has your neutral is the white or gray 6-wire. As you're looking at the lock being the top of the plug there, it is going to be the wire on the left. And when you put it in reverse, it switches negative to that wire. So this is not a positive to light that wire. So when I go to put my reverse light onto the back of this, I'm going to tie the positive to high directly to the battery with the fuse, obviously, and or an accessory wherever you want to pick up your power, because this is low voltage. And then I'm going to tie a negative cable to this lead right here. When I do that, I'm going to skin the cable back, and I'm going to solder it in place, and then I'm going to put heat shrink on it. And then I'm going to put dielectric grease on it, and then wire tape the whole thing. You don't want to get wire into these connectors, because if you do, or water, I'm sorry, if you do, you may short out your cluster, and that thing's about $300 to $400, $500. I think it's about $300. So the other thing you want to do is while you have this apart, these are real dirty, you can clean them up, but I'm going to put dielectric grease in those contacts and then plug this thing together. Now the grease keeps the water and debris out, keeps the contacts from corroding. It does not apply more connectivity, so you don't have to worry about getting grease across each pin and causing it to short out. So again, the 3-wire gray plug, lock on top, it's going to be the right cable on the right hand side. And I know somebody's going to ask, and I don't even know if I can see what color that cable is. It looks like it's a green cable. That's the one I'm going to tap into to get my reverse light going for this quad. All right, so I tested my light. When I go into reverse, and I have this wire just dangling here for my test purposes, and I take positive directly to my LED that I'm going to install, and then the switching ground off of the bike, and I'm going to cause it to do it here, let it warm up, go into reverse. What I found is when I take this ground to power the light, it drops out my reverse light. Disconnect, comes back. Touch, goes away. Now, 2 ways to solve that. One way, you can put a relay in there. I tested it with just a generic relay I had, and since you're just basically firing a coil of a relay, it will still light my LED and my dash light. Alright, so I have my reverse light now connected the way I need it. I had to come off of the wiring harness of the bike, kind of hard to see, and solder onto that cable there, that wire. Now traditionally that would go to the gray pin here where that's marked with a little black dot in the corner. It's a green wire. It now comes up and it ties into my negative on a double relay here. So this is a relay. Basically it gives me 2 contact outputs to completely isolate the cluster from my LED light. Tried the diode. It worked when I had it out, and everything seemed like it was going to be good to go. Connected it, and the cluster light was intermittent, and I didn't like that. So the negative from the bike itself, from the transmission or the shifter, goes to the negative of my relay. Positive is always hot, so that's always going to have a positive charge on there waiting for the negative to be present. When it does, it closes relay number 1. That feeds my cluster to give me my light up here for my reverse. And relay number 2 goes back to the negative on the LED, the light I installed. So now when I go to wrap that up, of course I'm going to get all the cables put back in, zip tie everything up. I will spray this board down so it doesn't corrode and everything like that, but for the time being I just need it in the test form. So here is the bike. So if I shift it up into reverse, I get my reverse light as normal, and at the same time I get the backup light. So that is my backup light right there. So can't remember where I did in the video or not. I will show and explain how I mounted that up there. So again, my reverse is now active to where I get a nice backup light, and I get the reverse indicator to work on the panel itself. It did require what I call an interposing relay with 2 contact points on it, so I could isolate the console here, the cluster, and my LED light. So LEDs, they do give some feedback, some stray voltage and EMFs and things like that. So the cheaper the LED, obviously, the more you'll get. So the bike is off. I will get this all cleaned up. I will show where I put the LED as well. All right, so this is my LED backup light. I tucked it right up underneath this frame here, and so that it is protected behind the bike and it won't be sticking out. I really wanted to do this part right underneath the backup or the brake light, but the problem with that was this piece is hollow and I can't get behind it to get the nut and whatever I need to tighten this light up. So that is the backup light and how it's mounted on the back. I will get all my cables lined up and zip tied and wrap everything up here.